Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Alicia. I am just getting us going here on Facebook as well. If you are tasting along, go ahead and pour yourself a glass of the Henriot Brut Rosé 2012. And we're going to get started here in just one moment. Okay, so again, thank you so much for making the time this Saturday afternoon here in the Midwest. But Gilles, it's evening for you, so thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for welcoming me in such a busy day in the US.
Yes, to put it mildly, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are here with Gilles de Larouziere, 8th generation member of the Henriot family. Gilles, who became president in 2015 of Maison and Domaine Henriot, inherited a legacy that began over 2 centuries ago with the founding of Champagne Henriot. As we are now well into fall and thoughts of Pinot Noir and turkey for Thanksgiving are on our minds, we're going to take a historic journey with the Henriot family, courtesy of Gilles, through its Pinot Noirs from Champagne to Burgundy and to the Willamette Valley. So thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop those into Zoom in the comment section or the Q&A function. If you're watching on Facebook, please go ahead and type those questions again into the comment section, and we'll try and get those to Gilles. So Gilles, thanks again. And to set the stage, can you tell us about your family story? I hear it's a great story and its origins in founding the House of Henriot and its venture into Burgundy.
Yes, thank you. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with you. Although it's digital, I would have preferred to be physically with you in the Midwest, but the circumstances didn't make it. So anyway, it's a good opportunity for me to share a passion. It's a passion of a family since over 212 years now. It started with my grandmother, Apolline Henriot. She was from Grape traders family who came in Champagne in the 17th century, and progressively they started to build a passion and activity around wines and started to plant vineyards. That's important for me to point out this point because we started by the vineyard. We didn't start by negoce of wines. We really started with the vine. And vine is a story of earth, of people. It's a story of terroir. It's a story of the genius that is provided by the alliance of man with nature. And I think it's very important, and that's really a deep part in our culture. We are very much people very much connected to the earth and to the work of the land. I think it's really a very important part of our identity. And when my grandmother started, she started in the Montagne de Reims. You probably know it's the place in Champagne where you find really the most beautiful Pinot Noirs of Champagne. And that was really the cornerstone. The beginning of the story started with the Montagne de Reims and with the Pinot Noir in 1808. But later on, in the late 19th century, in 1880, my grandfather married with a woman, Marie Marguet, and with the marriage came a huge vineyard in the Côte des Blancs, so Chardonnay, of course, and again, the best part of the vineyard in Champagne. And the connection, the combination of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, with a very strong proportion of Chardonnay, is really today the signature of Champagne Henriot. the proportion of Chardonnay that we have in our wines, in our champagnes, is quite high. This passion is based on what? Basically, it's based on providing the most luminous experience of tasting wines, and especially champagne. You know, champagne is a fantastic beverage because it's not only wine, it is primarily a wine, and I must insist on this. Champagne is not bubble. Champagne is really a wine. It's a very elaborated, highly elaborated wine, very precisely elaborated wine. And this is the beginning of everything in champagne. Then you have also, of course, this very famous process of making sparkling wine, which is, of course, the definition of champagne today. But also, I think a second combination comes very, very deep in the identity of champagne, which is, especially of a maison, and of a maison like Champagne Henriot, it's the blend of terroir. Assemblage, the blend, is really a key dimension in champagne. And from the very beginning, Apolline Henriot wanted to offer the best combination of the finest terroir of champagnes and bring them to the customers through the champagne, and especially Champagne Henriot. So that's really the heart of our identity. It's there, making elegant, luminous, and virtuoso champagne for the pleasure of fine wine lovers.
Thank you for sharing that. And I love that you share that champagne is first a wine, and the quality, especially in the vineyard and making the base wine that will then go through a second fermentation, is of the utmost importance. And if you don't have good fruit and a very talented chef de cave, you know, hard to get to a world-class champagne like yours. So I appreciate that perspective. And talking about kind of elegance and beautiful wines, we will, in our tasting, start in the Champagne region. And you touched on that Chardonnay tends to dominate a lot of your champagnes. However, today we are with your rosé from the 2012 vintage. And can you share with our viewers kind of what does Pinot Noir as a grape variety tend to bring to the blend? You know, why is it included? And then specifically in rosé, if you want to share your thoughts on the wine, and also the production method that you use for this rosé.
Well, it's very important to understand that in Champagne, there are three main varietals: Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, which is most cultivated in the Marne Valley, the Marne River Valley, and then you have Chardonnay. And they all bring something really different from each other. I would say that Pinot Noir bring deep aromas, deep and generous and virtuoso aromas provided simply by the tannins that are in the skin for the rosé, and also by the simple identity of the cepage. Chardonnay is going to bring something different. If you drink a Blanc de Blanc, you will note that you have more citrus aromas, almonds, maybe pastry or cream or butter aromas, where Pinot Noir will bring more spice, red fruit, peach, and that sort of aromas. And the combination of the two creates something that is really both enjoyable, expressive, deep in aromas, but also fresh, alive, vivid, and I would say just luminous. That's what we like to say at Champagne Henriot. In the rosé, you know, rosé can be made of two different ways. Either you scratch the skin of the blackberries, of the berries of the black resin, the Pinot Noir, and you have them stay a little while together in the juice, and the tannins that are in the skin are diffused, are infused in the juice. That is a rosé de saignée. The other way, and I think it's in Champagne, the only region in France where you have the right to actually do that kind of blend. You also have another way, which is making a red wine out of Pinot Noir and then blend the red wine with the white wines, whether it is produced only by Chardonnay or also by Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. For Champagne Henriot, this rosé is made of the architecture of this wine is 50% Pinot Noir, 50% Chardonnay. But then we add on this 50-50 blend something like around between 8 to 15% of red wine, depending, of course, of the year, of the quality of the grape, of the expressivity of the Pinot Noir. And this blend makes something very interesting because in the skin of the Pinot Noir, you have very specific aromas. And one of our favorite terroirs for the rosé and for the reds is Ailly. Ailly is at the south of the Montagne de Reims. It's a very steep slope. Where we have our blocks is probably the steepest slopes of the whole Champagne area. Between 45 and 50 degrees of slope. So it's very hard to work. You have very little soil. Immediately you have the choke and it's south facing. So it's benefiting from continuous illumination by the sun and a great deal of heat too in summer. So it gives very opulent, very powerful aromas. And I think in this rosé, you have, I mean, all the combination of all the ingredients I said. You have the freshness provided and the light and the acidity and the minerality, the salinity, I would say, even provided by the Chardonnay. You also have the wise expression of Pinot Noir in the initial blend. And then you have this incredible touch of fruits, strawberries, raspberries, a little touch of blackberry, but not too much because we like rather the fresh fruits, red fruits than black fruits. That is provided by this red wine from Ailly in Champagne. Ailly is a Grand Cru terroir.
You've described it very well, as I'm sure you have it quite often, but it's very concentrated. And I think it really stands out in how much fruit intensity, also the mousse, the bubbles on your palate are very fine, very creamy. They're not aggressive. They don't pop very quickly. So texturally, it's quite pleasant. And then alongside, yeah, all those red fruits, you find those kind of baked cranberry brioche notes in the back that it really is fantastic. And it's a powerhouse of a champagne. It's absolutely beautiful.
I think it's a very powerful, but also light and fresh wine. It's a really delicious wine, produced from a vintage that was really difficult for us in Champagne. We until the very end of the maturity period of the grapes, we were really uncertain about the results of the harvests because the weather has been so complex, so complicated. We have been going through ups and downs, hopes and despair. And, but finally, I mean, like often in wine, the best expression of the earth is given when people and plants suffer and stress and have to concentrate on the objective of giving the best. When it's too easy, it's often too obvious to drink. But here you have really, you can feel that everyone, man, nature, have been focusing on, I mean, making the last effort until the last moment to provide really the best. And it was really a fascinating vintage.
Thank you for stressing that, you know, it's not as intuitive as you think. It's not about planting vines on very fertile ground. We don't want that. They won't develop very complex flavors in that way. They don't have to work very hard. And so in a place like Champagne, where we have a kind of a limestone chalk subsoil and very northerly latitude, yes, I'm sure the vines are very stressed, but the importance of that eye vineyard that you have at those south-facing slopes to enable that sun exposure to fully ripen the grapes. This is an absolutely beautiful Champagne, Gilles. Thank you for sharing this. I'll be enjoying this for the rest of the day. I do want to now, okay, so we've covered Champagne, the importance of Pinot Noir in Champagne, both for rosés and for kind of regular Blanc Champagne. But let's go to now Burgundy, which we have to talk about. And really, I think what comes to people's minds when we think about world-class Pinot Noir. So you, of course, have Bouchard Perry Field. You want to tell us a little bit about this wonderful producer and maybe why you think Burgundy is just so special and so perfect for Pinot Noir.
Burgundy, the step to Burgundy was in a way natural, even if we were the first family from Champagne to cross the boundaries between Champagne and Burgundy. Burgundy is a little bit to the south of Champagne. These two regions historically have always shared a lot because the trading roads since the Middle Age were crossing what is now Holland and Belgium, and then going down to through Champagne and then to Burgundy. The Dukes of Burgundy were probably leading what was the world at that time, the old Europe, and going up to Milano in Italy. So it's a natural connection historically. It's also a natural connection because, of course, Burgundy is renowned for its Pinot Noir and its Chardonnay, and Champagne is about Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. So intellectually, the move to Burgundy was very consistent, very logical. However, these two regions have two very different ways of approaching the problem of viticulture and of winemaking, of course. What is famous in Burgundy, what really defines Burgundy is the famous climat. These climats are, what is a climat? A climat is a very well-defined area, piece of land, sometimes tiny, sometimes it's like 0.4 acres. So it can be really tiny. And this very defined area has been delimited because of its characteristics of soil, of exposition, of climatology, of proximity of a well or an airflow coming down from a hill. I mean, all these places in Burgundy have been identified through ages, at least since the Middle Age, because of their specificity. And that gives also the fact that in Burgundy, each and every wine is produced from one climat only and give its name to the wine. So that's very important. Like Clos de la Mousse, it's a climat, it's a 3.5 hectare or 2.92 hectares. It's a climat in itself, but it gives also the name to the wine. So we say it's a Beaune Clos de la Mousse. And that defines a Burgundy. And in 1995, there was an opportunity for the family to make a move to Burgundy and in a way cultivate its know-how in the Netherlands. A centennial know-how could be exported and brought to Burgundy. And Bouchard was available. I mean, there was a possibility for us to buy Bouchard, and we decided to do it. what is Bouchard? Why did we buy Bouchard? Because Bouchard is probably the most beautiful and largest domain in Premier and Grand Cru, certainly the largest, and I would say the most beautiful, because I'm passionate about it, in Burgundy, both in Côte de Beaune and Côte de Nuit, both in Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. So here, Pinot Noir is obviously approached totally differently from in Champagne, because first the multiplicity of climat requires us a vinification tool that allows us on a large scale to make a very haute couture vinification. It means separating the grapes, having a dedicated treatment, vinification treatment for each cuvée, for each climat, and sometimes even vinify one climat in several vats, because you have the younger vines, you have the older vines, you have some plots that are a little bit higher than the others. And if you really want to have the most precise and most complete expression of a climat, you have to give a dedicated treatment to every pieces where there is something different to express. So we did it in 1995. We invested a lot, and we are still investing, such as in Champagne-Henriot, primarily in viticulture. I think viticulture, I mean, the work of land and the understanding of the land, the understanding of the plants, what it requires in each area is fundamental. And we have been making a lot of investment and developing a lot of new processes, both at Champagne-Henriot and in Bouchard and everywhere, actually, to go more environmental. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we are going organic on all domains. Basically, we are not yet, but we are going to be certified in 24 at Bouchard Père-et-Fils. You have to imagine what it represents on a 270 acres domain with over 200 different blocks. It's something really very complex to manage.
Yeah. But can I ask you a question about that, yeah. Gilles? I just want to underscore too, not only the number of hectares that you have to convert to organic viticulture, but also in Burgundy, it's even more challenging, right? Because you mentioned kind of how small the climats are. And so it's not that you just have, one vineyard that's 50 acres and you can kind of do it in one fell swoop, no. and you're not worried about your neighbors and so forth. Can you speak to, are you seeing that a trend across Burgundy? Because it is kind of important in organic viticulture what your neighbors are doing because of your proximity to their viticultural practices and any spraying or what have you. So, yeah, can you speak to it? Are you seeing that a trend across the region? Yeah.
Just for you to imagine, Burgundy in Côte d'Or, the Côte d'Or vineyards, is a Côte d'Or on, let's say, 60, 65 kilometers long. To the largest, I think it's 2 or 3 kilometers wide. So it's a stripe in the landscape. And in Burgundy, there is an atomization of the property. People are looking first by history, because families are sharing at the successions, they are sharing the domains, and so progressively there is an atomization of the domains, but also because these terroirs are so different that if you are passionate, you want to have a collection of these terroirs. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have only, for example, Bonnemar Grand Cru, we have only 12 rows on 100 meters length. It makes between 2 and 3 barrels a year. but this one, we want to have it.
Yeah.
Claude Lamousse is 2.95 hectares, I think. So let's say 3. So it makes, let's say, 6 acres.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 6 acres is what? Nothing on the earth.
Correct.
It's a spinhead. But it's quite big already for one block in Burgundy. It's
Mm-hmm.
quite a large property in Burgundy. The average size of a property in Burgundy is around 15 acres, I would say. So just to imagine, just these few information to tell you the complexity of viticulture in Burgundy. We have over 100 climats. We own over 100 climats. They are spread into, I would say, something like 420 different blocks, vineyard blocks, on a 55 kilometers distance from the most northern part of the domain to the most south part of the domain. We go from Montrachet to Gevrey-Chambertin. So it's a crazy domain.
Yes, I hope you have a very talented logistics coordinator to keep all that in order.
What we have is we have very talented professionals. They are very rigorous. And in every domain, I always give the responsibility of the vineyard to the cellar master. That's true at Champagne-Henriot. Alice Tétienne, the cellar master, is managing both the cellar and the vineyard. I would say the vineyard and the cellar in the right order. And that's the same at Bouchard. Because I think what makes a great wine is, of course, a great terroir, but quite a lot depends also on the way you are managing this terroir. Mm-hmm. And the quality of the grape is essential. Of course, if you don't have good quality grapes, I mean, enology will not correct the poor quality of your grapes. Mm-hmm. If you have very good grapes, you don't need much enology tricks to correct the defaults. You just have beautiful material, beautiful grapes, and you just have to let them work by themselves.
Yes, especially true with the very temperamental, thin-skinned Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
You can't
Pinot
have
Noir,
bad grapes. Yeah.
Pinot Noir is very interesting, and I think it's one of the most complex varietal to grow and to vinify. It's very fragile. It's very complex. And if you miss a step in the viticulture or in the vinification, you can really break down the work of a whole year. Because the tannins are very, very, very thin, very elegant. But if you extract too much from these tannins, you have other vegetal notes, which you don't want because they are not very pleasant to taste, or very bold, very heavy Pinot Noir, which is not what we in the family like to produce. We like to produce elegant Pinot Noir with a nice expressivity, but also very, very pleasant and very elegant wines. So the management of Pinot Noir is really one of the most complex in the viticulture business.
Yes, and for those that may think about some of the price tags that we find ourselves paying for really high quality Pinot Noir, and especially in Burgundy, Gilles' statement there is kind of one of the main factors as to why. It is a difficult grape to grow and to make into kind of this beautiful ethereal wine that you could really smell all day, which is how I feel about this wine that we're having now. If you want to share your thoughts on it, Gilles, we're having the Bouchard Bon Clos de la Mousse, as was mentioned, a premier cru, and we're drinking the 2017 vintage.
So just a few words about this wine and this climat. Bon Clos de la Mousse, so it's a climat. Mousse means mush, basically. If you take Google Translates, if you work mousse, you will have mush. But it's not at all what it's about. Mush, it comes from, mus comes from a Latin word, monticulus. Monticulus in Latin means a small hill, small hill.
Okay.
So it's down the slope of Beaune, and then you have a little, very little proeminence of lands, which is circled by a wall, and this is Clos de la Mousse. So it's a monopoly for us. We are the only owners of this climat, and it's a very interesting one because although it's a little bit higher than the rest of the slope, the soil is quite deep, and most importantly, there is some humidity, there is some water in the underneath the soil, in the depth of the soil. So it's a vineyard that always resists very well to very warm conditions. And this provides you what I feel when I taste this wine is beautiful red fruits, deep expression, wide, a sense of plenitude, a sense of serenity and power without excessive expression, and a freshness with some red fruits, combination of red fruits, of spices,
Yes.
of maybe a fresh leather, and a nice acidity that makes the wine really digestible and fresh and agreeable, very pleasant, agreeable to drink. That's one of my favorites. It's a really beautiful climat. And just to tell you a few words about this climat is known as Clos de la Mousse since the 13th century. 1249, I think. We have documents mentioning Clos de la Mousse as being identified as a specific viticulture area, a specific terroir. So for us, it's always an emotion and a pleasure and a sense of immense privilege to work on these blocks, because they come from really deep in history. They have a history sometimes longer than my own family's history, which is quite long.
Which is very long, yes.
And they are renowned since the night of the times for their quality.
You put it so well. You really are kind of stewards of the legacy of Burgundy, of the history of those that came before, that were some of the first to recognize how terroir influences the growing of the grapes and the resulting wines, and drawing the boundaries for these climats that we know today. So we do have a question for you, Gilles, and we often kind of joke about this actually, but can you speak to how Burgundy is affected by the French inheritance law, and maybe your comments on why we continue to see vineyards and climats that are broken up as generations come, and you especially are familiar with that. So can you share a little bit about that?
About the fragmentation of the domains?
Yes.
I think it's first, it's really linked, I think, to the structure of the terroirs in Burgundy. Burgundy is on a, you have to imagine a marine plain back 150 million years ago that broke. There was an earthquake.
Right.
And it really broke the slope. It broke the plain, and it created a lot of turmoil in the soils. So you have some limestone, some clay, some lemons that are mixed together. And sometimes the earth is not the same from to the left and 1 meter further. It's different soil. It's a different geological combination. So I think first the natural conditions have created this specificity, because when you like this terroir, you want the diversity of these terroirs. So you don't want too much of one. You would like to have this one, but also a little bit of this one. So naturally, people tend to gather different terroirs together,
Okay.
and exchange the land, and they make some transactions that bring the fragmentation. Second thing is, of course, the fact that since the revolution, there is equality in inheritance between the children. So, I mean, equality between inheritance, if you have 4 children, you have to divide your domain by 4, or at least your assets. And then the next generation, you have a 4th. If you again have 4 children, you have to divide it by 4 again. So often the families make an agreement and try to work their property together and to be indivise holders of this land. But sometimes they divide, they want to live their lives on their own side, and they have to divide the property.
Yes.
So it's a combination of natural conditions, the passion of the people who want to have the privilege to discover and work on another terroir than the one they have, and you know, it's like a piano, an organ player. You have several keys, and you would like to play on all the keys if you could.
Yeah.
And I must say, at Bouchard, we are very pleased because we have over 100 keys to play, and it's really a great pleasure.
Yes. Well, it certainly shows in your wines and just the depth of your portfolio, no doubt. So to conclude, we still have another region, another wine to talk about. So coming back to your family's story, you recently acquired Beaufrère in the Willamette Valley. So as we taste this wine, can you share your thoughts now on Pinot Noir in the Willamette Valley and what inspired your partnership with Beaufrère?
I must confess one thing is that until December 16, I didn't know much about Oregon as a wine producing region in the US. Of course, I knew about California. I had tasted some very nice Pinot Noirs from California, although it's more Cabernet that are famous there and hold the top of the aristocracy of California.
Yes.
And simply, what happened is simply opportunity. I had been appointed as chairman of the company since a year and a half, and I have been contacted because there was this opportunity of taking over on Beaufrère. And at first I thought, my God, it's 9,000 kilometers far from Paris and France. Quite a lot to do here in France. I'm not going I'm not even going to envisage a domain in Oregon, so far in a region that I don't know very well. But I had some information about Beaufrère, and I said, I thought at least I have to go there by curiosity and to understand what it is and what is Oregon and how are the wines, and see what is this domain, which is very famous. Any wine lover knows Beaufrère. So I wanted to go there and discover it. And just I put the finger in the machine, and the machine ate me. I remember very well this day when I came to Newburgh, to Beaufrère, and I just went off the car and I met Mike, which is a wonderful person, really a great person, humanly. And I told him, Mike, I want to see the vineyards because everything is about the vineyards. A winery, it's always a little bit the same, but the vineyards, when you go on the land, when you see the vines, when you see the soil, you see the nature, you can appreciate how healthy it is, how happy the plants are. I really mean it. And how happy are the people too, because it's also a story of people. I had a wonderful day with Mike, really. We talked a lot about many things, about terroir, about Pinot Noir, about our values, family stories, about organic, about biodynamics, and I mean all the topics you can imagine two wine producers can have in mind when they meet each other.
So how many hours did that conversation take?
We spent nearly a whole day discussing. Yeah. We didn't speak of any business. We didn't go to the figures or anything. We just shared our passion, our values, our histories, and our understanding of our business, which is a very strange business. And when I flew back the next day to Paris, I was convinced. I just wanted to go there. I just wanted to partner with Mike. I wanted him, if possible, to stay with me. And I met also Mikey, his son, which is a great, very talented winemaker, and agreed. And well, after it's technical stuff, but we just would say in a way, it's like we got married. I mean, we really appreciated each other, and we wanted to build a story together. I think that's the point, and I'm very glad that Mikey, the son of Mike, is working with us on the domain. That they are still partner, and that our story is built for the long term and not only for a few years of partnership and then everyone goes where he wants. Yeah. It's in a way what I like in this story is that it's a family story inside the family story, and that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, we're leaving, firstly, I'm so glad that you were won over after a day in the Willamette Valley. It is a beautiful place and absolutely wonderful people. A lot of small family-run wineries there. It's a special place. So we're tasting the Beaufrère Willamette Valley 2018 Pinot Noir. We're kind of leaving the limestone and clay of Burgundy, and we're trading it for marine sedimentary soils and some basalt. So we have different soil types, but yet making gorgeous Pinot Noirs. I know this is a kind of a big question, and you could probably speak about it for hours, but can you, by maybe even through tasting these two wines, the color, for one thing, we can see that it's unfiltered, but can you speak about maybe your experience in tasting through maybe Old World compared to New World Pinot Noirs, specifically with Burgundy and the Willamette?
I would say, first, what seduced me in Willamette Valley and in Beaufrère, primarily Beaufrère, is the Ribbon Ridge AVA. It's the smallest in Oregon. It's a very specific and beautiful place. And when I tasted the Pinot Noirs from Oregon, the 2 days before meeting Mike, because I wanted to go through the region and taste the wines and understand about the identity of this wine region, I was very impressed. I was very impressed by the quality of the expression of the Pinot Noir in Oregon, because it's not as powerful as the Pinot Noir from California, which can be really very, very strong and very, very powerful. What I would say is that in Oregon, you have less power, but you have incredible energy. I think that what defines the wines of Beaufrère is the energy that you can feel. I think it's partly due to the way the vineyard is managed, to the way the wines are made, to the immense respect of the nature that the team in Beaufrère has. But I also think it's again the result maybe of natural conditions. And if you want me to maybe give an explanation, my explanation, or one of the explanation possible of the differences between Pinot Noir in Oregon and Burgundy, which are the same parallel, basically in the same place of the planet, just the other side of the globe. But I would say it's because, I mean, Oregon exists since the very end of the 19th century. It was mainly forests, forest states. It's still called the beaver states. Very natural, very green states. And I think the soils are incredibly young. In Burgundy, we are growing vines since over 2,000 years, and basically on the same places. So, and in Oregon, we are growing vines. I think the pioneers of Oregon are, I mean, the Erie vineyards, the Ponzi, and all these fantastic people. They have started in the 60s.
Yeah.
So basically, you have 2,000 years of delay between Burgundy and Oregon, and I think the terroir is great. I think the plants are very high quality. There is a passion among the people that is incredible. That's really fascinating to see. There is also an incredible collaboration between people. Domains collaborate with each other. They share their views, they share their tricks, they share their perceptions, they share their recipes, their ways of understanding the terroirs. But there is also definitely this incredibly young land that provides the wine an energy that is a vibrance. I don't know how to express it, but it's really vibrant. It's full of energy, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's just pure pleasure.
Yes, gorgeous wine from Beaufrère, and we get more kind of layers of fruit. I think I get a little kind of some more darker fruit, certainly on this wine. I think the tannins very fine, very elegant, defined though in your mouth. You know they're there, giving great structure to the wine. Still though, unmistakably, you know, beautiful and elegant Pinot Noir. Really nice to have these side by side.
I think Pinot Noir of Oregon, Beaufrère Pinot Noirs. What is interesting is, I mean, it's what you said. You have like a whole bunch of a mixture of fruits, full in the mouth. It's very close to the fruits. It's very savory. It's really and full of energy. And you don't find the aromas. What is interesting also is the pepper notes at the end of the tasting, the end of the mouth. You have always a touch of pepper that is stimulating your tongue and your mouth. That's what really struck me the first time I drank some wines from Beaufrère. But you have less the leather, the cinnamon, the spice, the gingerbread, or these aromas, the leather or the earth that you find very often in the Burgundy wines. I think it's the same. That's what is interesting in wine. It's the same plants. It's the same varietal. It's Pinot Noir, but on the side of the planet, it gives something really close to the fruit, full of energy, vibrant and young, And on the other side of the planet, it's more, I would say, seasoned. Burgundy is about seasoned wines, very, very complex, with some incredible amounts of layers of I would say of speech. You know, you can have various levels of speech in the wine. Where in Oregon, what I like, it's very straightforward. It's energetic. It's fresh. It's vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have all the generosity of the United States in this wine.
There you go. We are a generous country, I'd say, and in more ways than one. But Gilles, thank you so much for that. And
You're welcome.
you said it so perfectly when you said that you're building a story, and thank you for sharing that story through Champagne Henriot, through Bouchard, and through Beaufrère. Lovely Pinot Noirs here, folks, and we do have one maybe a little silver lining. You can maybe spend a little bit more than you would normally this Thanksgiving if you're having a smaller group at home, and maybe someone's not coming over that will just drink it really quickly and not appreciate it. So these are wines to appreciate and enjoy this holiday. We really hope you do that. And Gilles, thank you again for your time. I'll leave everyone with a photo here of the wines. But again, thanks for coming on tonight in Paris.
Thank you so much. And just to say to you, you said I was building a story. In a way, it's true, but I'm just continuing a very long story of 8 generations. And my cherished desire is that I can pass over to the 9th generation, and they have other very nice stories to tell about their wine passion.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Gilles, and cheers with the Beaufrère here. Cheers to you. Have a lovely evening, and happy
Cheers.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and a very nice Thanksgiving. Beautiful.